I remember the first time that I met Chris, and it was an Easter Sunday morning at Faith Renewed. They were actually meeting in the Camelot Theater, and I come in late as usual, and sat kind of towards the back. I remember I was wearing my favorite purple dress.
She was sitting there all alone, and I was happened to be playing drums, so I saw her when she walked in.
But after worship was over, he came down the aisle and sat next to me.
And she leaned in and tried to kiss me right away.
Just started talking to me, and I thought it was really, really super sweet of him because I really didn't know anybody there, and he just came and started talking to me, and he really made me kind of feel.
And then I leaned in and kissed her, just because I figured it was the right thing to do. No one deals with rejection, the good way. So, anyways, okay, that's really not how it went. It kind of is, but there are a few parts that are false in there. And really what happened, she was sitting by herself, and I had no clue who she was, and I decided to go in and sit right beside her.
During that time, I wasn't really living right. I wasn't like wild and partying and everything, but I wasn't really fully committing myself to God, and I was telling my parents that I was going to different churches, but I really actually wasn't going. I mean, sometimes I remember going and sitting in the parking lot just to say I'd actually been there, but I wouldn't ever actually go in. I kind of started going to rock. Of course, I would come in late, leave early. I remember intentionally trying to dodge Pastor Stephen and Pastor Terry, kind of walk with my hand out, like head towards the door. Looking back on it now, being in the positions that me and Chris are in, I realized that they probably saw straight through me. And the summer after I met Chris, my sister had a friend come to live with us for the summer, and so she was kind of asking around at where we went to church, and of course I told her, oh, I go to Frock, and so she was like, oh, well, I want to come visit, and outwardly I was like, oh yeah, sure, come on, but on the inside I was kind of freaking out because I was like, oh my gosh, I don't ever go, I'm actually going to have to go now, and I was telling my parents that I was going on Wednesdays when I wasn't really going on Wednesdays, and so she came, and of course she loved it, which meant I had to go every time. As I got to go to church more, I got to know the people better, and I really became friends with Chris. He became my very best friend. That next semester, as I was going through school, I was having such a hard time. I get really stressed out with school, and I would stay up all hours of the night, and he was always there, and he would always help me with homework. If he couldn't help me, he would just sit there and keep me company. Even though he had school the next day, he would stay up with me, and he really just cared about me, truly cared about me. During that time, I was kind of dealing with depression, and I had mono basically that semester as well, and Chris never left my side. He was always there for me, always trying to cheer me up and make me feel better, and it really, really meant a lot to me. During that time, I really saw him strictly as a friend.
Secretively, we were dating, and she did not know it. I just told people we were dating. I told guys we were dating, and of course they didn't ask her, and they were too scared of me to go to her and try to, date her or ask her out or whatever. I think I scared them probably with my most.
I was in college, he was younger than me, and I just really didn't see him as a potential boyfriend.
So, as I tried to force myself into staying with Shayna and continuing to talk to her and continuing to push her into wanting to be with me even though she didn't, and trying to make the friendship into a actual relationship. I tried every trick in the book. I tried everything I could possibly try, and it finally got down to the point where Kathy, Shayna's mother, came to me and said, Chris, listen, you just need to give up. You just need to leave her alone because she's not, nothing's ever going to happen. And I decided not to listen to that. And I love you, Kathy, but I'm sorry I didn't listen to you. Well, actually, I'm not very sorry that I didn't listen to you.
Till this one day, and I don't remember who it was, but there was some girl, and she started flirting with him, and I remember in that moment, I got so mad. My claws started coming out, and then I was like, wait, what are you doing? And I realized, oh my gosh, I really, really like him. A few months later, he called me and he asked me to go to dinner. And of course, I was like, yes, because that wasn't unusual for us because we were best friends. We did everything together. And then he kind of paused and he said, on a date. And then he paused again and said, like, on a real date. And I said, yeah. And I remember him saying, really? And I guess he was really surprised that I said yes, but I really did want to go because I really started falling for him. Then on December 22nd, he told me that he had a surprise for me, so he came to the house and he picked me up. He actually blindfolded me and put me in the car, and we drove around for what seemed like hours, but we eventually got out and he told me to walk. He actually put me on his back at one point because I think I was going too slow, but we got to where we were going and he told me to lay down and I could feel his grass, and he told me to take my blindfold off and not to look around. So I took my blindfold off and all I could see was stars, and it was absolutely gorgeous. And he turned to me and he asked me to be his girlfriend, and it was perfect. And then he told me to look around. So I looked around and we were in a baseball field, and he told me that he had played here last time that his grandma had seen him play, and she took him away afterwards, and he showed me the swing that they had sat on.
My grandmother was telling me a story about my grandfather and her, and she always told me if I found the right one to make sure I hold on to her.
And she had told him that one day that he would find the girl of his dreams, and he would understand what it was like to fall in love. And he told me that I was the first girl that he had ever experienced that with. So it was an amazing.
One of my greatest memories during our dating relationship was the summer of 2010, and I just got done graduating high school, and we spent a whole week just riding bikes. We found a man-made pond off the Swamp Rabbit, and every day that week we got on our bikes like little children and packed food and had our fishing rods, and we went and rode bikes and found this little pond and started fishing, and we did this every day, and we would ride for miles, and it got to the point where we would start in early morning and not come back till the evening, but we did it for a week straight, and that was one of the funnest things that we've ever done.
I would like to say that from that point forward, everything was picture perfect, but it wasn't. We still were kind of stuck in our old lives, and we weren't really living fully devoted to God. So I got tired of living that way. I think about a year went by, and I really wanted to fully commit myself to God. And so I started talking to him about it, and he basically acted like he didn't really care. After praying, I did not think that me and Chris should be together, and I told him that. And of course, he didn't feel the same way, so I told him that we would take a few days, kind of like a break, to really pray about it, to figure out if God really wanted us to continue in the relationship. I did not want to break up with him. I really did love him. I just felt like our views and my goals for ministry were nothing like his. So I prayed about it for the next few days, and I really felt like I should not be with him. And I finally found the courage to meet back up with him and tell him.
I wasn't following what God had called me to do, and I knew that I wasn't. And I knew that was coming in between us, because Shayna was moving into an area in her life where she was wanting to follow God, but I was more of, God, I don't know if I want to do that.
Before I could even get my reasons out for breaking up with him, he began to cry, and he told me that he was sorry for the way that our relationship had been, and that he was ignoring a call on his life, and he was called to the ministry, and he just felt unworthy, and he had been running from it for such a long time, and he said that he was so scared that he was going to fail, but he knew that he was ready to give 100% and fully devote himself to God. And I remember in that moment feeling just this blanket of peace come over me. And I knew instantly that he was the one that I was going to spend the rest of my life with.
If it wasn't for Shayna, I may not be where I am today.
Then we started attending Radiant Church, and we were there around a year, but I just felt so disconnected. And I remember praying every night, God, please help us find our place there. We really, really wanted to be used. And one night I went to this Bible study in North Greenville, and there was this girl there. I had never met her, and she came up to me and said, where do you go to church? And I said, Radiant Church. And she said, how do you feel about that church? And I instantly just broke down, and I just said, I just want to find our place there. I really want to help out. I just don't know where that is. I remember she looked at me and she said, I want you to go in and worship with all of your heart. And I did. And 1 month later, Chris was asked to be the youth pastor.
I'm so thankful for Shayna and her spirit and her love for God. It's pushed me into really following what God's called me to do. But not only that, it's been my accountability. And I'm so thankful for her. And she's always there. She's always my prayer partner. She's my prayer warrior. And no matter where we're at, no matter what time it is, I know that I can always call on her. And I'm thankful that God has put someone like that in my life that understands somewhat of me, which is hard to understand, but understands my goals in life, and understands that I'm wanting to do what God has called me to do, and she wants to do what God has called her to do, no matter what sacrifice is made. That she's willing to walk by me no matter what.
Then he asked me to marry him.
She had no clue it was coming, and I actually picked her ring out all by myself. And I was so excited. I took it and showed her, her mother and her sister, and took it home, showed my mom. I was so pumped up, and they said, okay, so when are you going to do it? And I decided to do it at the beach.
And it was in July, and he had asked me to go for a walk on the beach. Both of our families were down there, and I was wearing a dress for some reason and never questioned why we were walking on the beach when I was in a dress, but I was. So he took me on the beach, and as soon as we got right past the pier, he got down on one knee and he asked me to marry him.
Obviously she said yes, because she's here today, and at least I don't think she's ran away yet.
And of course I said yes, and then he told me to look on the pier, and all of my family was there and friends as well, and it was picture perfect. Anyways, we just wanted to share a little bit about our journey with you guys.